Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BruWings and Things podcast. This is episode 14, and I am your host, Kaylee, alongside Cameron and Alex, as per usual. Guys, how are we doing today?
Great. Feeling good.
Beautiful Sunday.
Don't
Yes.
lie.
What? I would
They're
never
all flying.
I would never have a headache after a Saturday night. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it
Too
was
much,
some,
too much pop.
Yeah. All right, it's
yeah.
called soda.
Soda.
You're outnumbered
Relax.
here, buddy.
Package store.
Package store, carriage.
Oh, settle down now.
Anyway,
So we have some topics to get to today. Surprise, surprise. Evander Kane comes up for like the 10th time since we started this podcast because there's always something to talk about when it comes to Evander Kane. So he had his first game with the Oilers last night and he scored in the 7-2 win against the Montreal Canadiens. So the Oilers were in a slump, so maybe Evander Kane was that missing piece. Although the Canadians are a terrible hockey team, but they seemed to have all the offense there last night, and they really couldn't figure out, what was going on. They asked Draisaitl what was going on, and he was accused of being pissy about it. So maybe he'll be less pissy now that he has Evander Kane in the lineup, even though he's a locker room cancer. But Kim, I know you said you had some opinions about the Oilers. So, do you have anything to say about Evander Kane's return?
well, I actually, being a betting man, well, whether I'm good or bad at it, I kind of had like a kind of almost a hot take. So, I know we've all talked about, Evander Kane, and I do think it's hilarious that a pissy locker room or a locker room where everyone just hates themselves or they hate the management, they hate whatever. Like the whole locker room has not been good so far. And I just think it's hilarious that they're bringing this guy in. And so the entire world thinks it's a bad idea, except for Ken Holland and the Oilers. So of course they brought him on, and we all are like, this is going to be hilarious to watch them burn. And that's the reason why I think they're going to make the playoffs. Because one, the world is like that. The people that you don't think deserve to do that and don't deserve to win usually do. But also the people like the people who are down and out and who are counted out and who are like, oh, I can't wait for you to like make a mockery of yourself, like they usually fight pretty hard to come back. And the entire hockey world is against them right now. So I think there's a fire under their asses right now. And I know it's only been one game and it was against an AHL team that they won, but I think that they might start to turn it on and they might start to take a big run. I would not be surprised if they had like a 7 or 8 game win streak coming up. And I am kind of not rooting for them, but I am kind of interested to see. And it would be pretty funny if they turned it on and actually started being good. And maybe who knows, they might actually get a win in the second round this year.
Yeah, it's not that like you're rooting for Evander Kane for his happiness, but you're kind of rooting that he's going to turn things around and he's not going to do those things anymore. Like it would be great if he didn't act like that anymore and we didn't talk about him 10 times out of our 14 episodes of this
Yeah.
podcast. Like, I mean, maybe this will whip him into shape. Like, wow, I'm really getting another chance here, which seems to happen a lot in the NHL. You have multiple chances. So, like you said, I'm kind of rooting for him to be a better person and not do this anymore because he is a good hockey player. And whether you like him or not, I hate to admit it, good hockey player, maybe not a great person, but hopefully he can realize he's blessed with this gift because it's sad to see when people are good professional athletes, like no matter the league, they have this talent and they throw it away, whether they get a DUI or they're sexually harass someone or abuse someone. So hopefully this is a wake up call for him. Like, hey, you're getting a chance. You're on the same roster as Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and this could be a huge turnaround for the team, and you guys could make a playoff run.
Yeah. I also just think like, you know, that that mindset of like the prove everybody wrong mindset is pretty powerful. And I really do think, especially in athletes, especially in good athletes, I think it's going to be very interesting to watch them perform in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Alex, did you have any comments on it?
As far as like the Oilers go, I think the team dynamic's going to be interesting because this does help the team in a pure hockey standpoint. Because he's obviously a very skilled player. He's a true power forward guy who's going to be able to help keep people off of McDavid. This allows the Oilers to kind of stretch Draisaitl to the second line and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to the third line, and now they've got some unreal scoring depth. This really does help them up front. The issues still remain on the back end. I mean, Duncan Keith is pretty much, I think, leading the team in time on ice, which is probably not something that should be happening. They still have goaltending issues, and they're up against the cap. They don't have a whole lot of space on the salary cap to make moves, and Ken Holland has said that he doesn't want to trade his first-round pick. And they have a conditional second-round pick being traded to Chicago, so we don't know what's going to end up happening here with this team. They have to make some trades. But are they going to? Are they going to make the right trades? Are they going to get the right pieces? There's going to be a lot of availability for goalies in the market coming up to the trade deadline, but is Ken Holland even going to make a trade? We don't really know. So they're only 2 points removed from, I think, a wild card spot right now. And they have a few games in hand behind the Sharks and the Kings. They're really not that far out of the race. There's an opportunity for them to make the playoffs still, and they probably will, having so many games in hand. But it's still up in the air. Are the Kings going to start selling because they're being chased by the Flames and the Oilers? Probably not. They're pretty tight, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see coming down to the wire. It'll come down to probably the last 5 games of the season.
Yeah, we're getting close to the trade deadline, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But we're also getting close to the All-Star game. So some big changes happened over the past week. Taylor Hall did hit Nathan MacKinnon during the Bruins and the Avalanche game. MacKinnon, they're calling it a facial fracture. I don't know if that's just a fancy way of saying a broken nose, but he has a facial fracture, and MacKinnon will not be in the All-Star game anymore as of right now, which is a shame. He's a star player. It'd be a lot of fun to see him in the All-Star game in Vegas. Also, Adam Fox for the Rangers. He is out with an upper body injury. So Roman Josi is going to slot in that aspect. And it sucks that Marchand couldn't slot in, but I won't get into that anymore. But yeah, so regarding that Taylor Hall and Nathan MacKinnon hit, I think anyone that knows the game of hockey knows it was a clean hit. I know people were upset about it initially, especially Avalanche fans. It looked dirty before you even saw the replay. Like as soon as it happened, it looked really rough. MacKinnon fell right to the ice. He was bleeding. You couldn't really tell where the contact was, but thank God for instant replay in slow-mo because you could clearly see that it was just an awkward hit, but Taylor Hall did not aim for the head. He didn't leave his feet. There was no malicious intent, and MacKinnon's own stick smashed his nose, and that's where the blood came from. So it's very unfortunate, but hockey is so fast and such a game of inches that things like that do happen. It's just sad with the timing of it considering the All-Star game, but hopefully he heals up soon, and hopefully everyone knows that Taylor Hall, there's no, I mean, he didn't even have a hearing. There was no malicious intent. There was nothing. So, and then the Avalanche continued to go after Hall the rest of the night. Landeskog went after him, tried to get him to, he roughed him up a little bit. I don't know if he wanted him to drop the gloves, but they're going after Taylor Hall all night, which I get it. Like, you want to see your captain stick up for your teammate, and that guys are always going to stick up for their teammate, whether you like it or not. So I get it, but Taylor Hall wanted no part in it, which I understand because he did nothing wrong. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys.
Well, I just want to say,
agree.
yeah, I'm very happy to see. Well, not happy to see, but it was nice to see Taylor Hall kind of, I guess, take it because it shows that he's like he understands that it's like what am I trying to say? He understands that it was unfortunate, and obviously Avalanche players are gonna be mad, and but it wasn't his fault. But like he's just like getting hit, and he's like, okay, I understand. I will accept this for tonight. So it's just, I guess it's nice to see a player do that, and it's like shows kind of maturity in the game, and not like throwing up your hands and complaining and crying about it. Like he's like, okay, I'm gonna take punishment for beating up one of their best players, beating up their all-star. So I think that's I guess a positive to take away from that.
Yeah, plus he didn't think it was worth a penalty, especially in such a close game against such a good team.
Yeah.
It's a shame the Bruins lost that one, and I stayed up late. It's a shame for that. I shouldn't have.
I went to bed. I was like, what was it? 3-1. I was like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, no, I knew we weren't good, and that's why I stayed up. But I should have went to bed because I
went to bed.
We weren't good.
Is that the one that went to overtime at like 1:30?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Allmark stood on his head that entire game, and they blew a 3-1 lead. So
I was watching that game. Be proud I watched a Bruins game.
A lot of people were watching that game because it was on TNT.
Yeah, it was right after the Red Wings game, actually. That's why.
Yeah.
I just kept the channel on.
Alex was like, it was just background noise.
It kind of was, but I was watching it.
I willingly watched your boys last night, and they wasted my time.
Yeah, well.
No, it was pretty funny.
What do you expect?
It was a good comedy watching that.
Yeah. Jeffrey Blashill's prevent defense really only just prevents the Red Wings from winning. It's so bad.
They're literally preventing defense.
Yeah, it's dude, I get so wound up watching Jeff Blashill coach in the third period. Like, the Red Wings give up the most goals in the third period compared to any other team by like far. Like,
yeah,
it's not even close.
It can't even be close.
No, it's not. It's by like 15 goals, which might not seem like a lot, but over the course of a season, like a differential between the worst and the second to worst of 15 goals is a lot to be giving up in one period. So, I don't know.
Hey, how about Bertuzzi, though, blocking those shots? At least he'll take some type of shot.
Yeah, all right. All right, relax. You and 85 other people have been making that joke every single
I know. That's why I made it to make
low-hanging fruit, man. Get new material. Honestly, though, I do like seeing it because there was always this whole narrative around that whole situation where it was like, oh, he's not a team player, he's not doing it for the team, and like you can disagree with his choices, and I disagree with it, but at the end of the day, like, it's not a team decision for him to be making it like that, and it doesn't prove that he's, not a team player. I think we can pretty much say that that's not the case. And also, if we ever need a emergency backup goalie or something, apparently we know who to call, so that's fun.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll do one of the cam transitions. Speaking of Michigan and hockey teams in the state of Michigan.
Oof. I do it way better.
Go for it.
Well, no,
Be the host.
No, I just segue better, that's all.
Go for it.
Speaking of going for it, that's all I got.
What? Okay, you're done. You're done. Immediately no. So, well, I'm gonna turn the conversation to Alex because he knows way more about this than me and Cameron, and he can probably explain what's going on here. There was a scandal, even though it's not NHL news, we feel like it's important to touch on. There was a scandal and some unsettling news that came from the University of Michigan hockey team. So, Alex, I don't know if you want to give us a quick rundown, but I know you kind of know what's been going on dating back several years or so regarding the team.
Yeah, so there was an athletic doctor who was a doctor for most of the athletic department at the University of Michigan, was hired in the mid-'60s and then retired in like the early 2000s and died in the early 2000s, so he was an old guy, who had been sexually abusing students and athletes and stuff like that. And recently the university had to shell out about $500 million in settlement money, which, first of all, that's a good thing. Holding these kinds of people accountable even after death, like, yeah, we need to be doing something to protect the students and the athletes. That's a no-brainer. Recently, though, the University of Michigan hockey team, we all know last year they were really, really good. And going into the Frozen Four we all kind of thought that they would at least be a contender to win it. And then they had that situation where COVID kind of ran rampant. And this was when things were a lot tighter with the lockdowns and stuff like that. So they ended up getting removed from the tournament in general. Well, Mel Pearson, the coach of the team, I think he's in like his 5th year after Red Berenson retired, apparently was telling the students to lie about their contact tracing for COVID. So this is the investigation that's currently ongoing. So this isn't necessarily been proven yet, but the investigation is looking into whether or not he was telling the students to lie about their contact tracing so that they wouldn't have to forfeit these games and give up the tournament. We don't know how long that had been going on necessarily, but it's obviously an issue. Besides being a health and safety issue, it's completely circumventing the rules and regulations set by the NCAA, which you can't do. On top of that, there's more issues with the University of Michigan's hockey team, with the Title IX issues, I guess. They've been mistreating some of the female members of the team, some of the ancillary staff and stuff like that. So just not a good look overall, obviously. I mean, these are issues that we continue to say hockey culture needs to improve, and words are really, really nice when things like this continues to happen, because these actions need to be held accountable.
Absolutely, yeah. And even though, usually it's the NHL that's mostly in the spotlight for scandals like this, because they're obviously the big leagues, but it trickles down, and you see it in the minor leagues, you see it in college, you see it in every system. So as always, we're beating a dead horse here. It needs to change, and hopefully the discipline is appropriate for what they deserve. It does end up being true. Definitely sad to hear. You always think you're kind of out of the women of the female workers. That's really unsettling. So hopefully they can get to the bottom of what happened, and they can go from there, and the right punishment will be dealt. So I do want to talk about something that I'm not too happy about. Tuka is injured. So there was all this hype and, rejoice that he was back. We had our number one goalie back, our star, our legend. And I believe they really haven't given much detail on it, but I'm going to guess it's involving the surgery he had for the torn hip labrum. It is classified as a lower body injury. And I mean, come on, if anyone has watched a Bruins game that he's played so far, he's been so off. And yes, I'm the Tuukka defender, I'm the Tuukka apologist, but the guy isn't perfect. No one is. And he's just looked off. His movement seemed off. He's getting beat on goals he should have. I mean, Ullmark has been playing better than him in recent games. And at first I was like, oh, it's rust. He only had about 4 starts. And in one of those starts, he played pretty good. I mean, he looked good. He stopped 2 breakaways. It was the game against Philly. He looked great in that one game. So he really only had about 3 rusty games. I was like, he didn't have time to practice in the AHL. He didn't have a regular training camp. Like, he's going to get to it. And then next thing you know, he has a lower body injury. And the Bruins called up one of the goalies from the taxi squad. And Troy Grosnick, I know nothing about him. He was on the taxi squad. Not gonna lie, never heard that name before. So they called him up, and I was like, okay. And now Swayman has been called up, so they're back to the Ullmark and Swayman duo. Apparently, Ullmark is starting this evening against the Stars, which I'm fine with because he's been on a hot streak. And I'm happy to see Swayman is back up because I absolutely love him. And Swayman and Ullmark is definitely going to be the duo going forward, but it's really hard for me to see Tuukka having those issues because, as always, everyone's blaming him. He's quitting. He's not good enough. He's old. He needs to retire. So I just want to know, Cam, you're a Bruins fan. Give me your Tuukka discourse.
My Tuukka 2 cents. Sorry. I'm gonna wait for you guys to stop laughing. Okay, we're good. Okay. So
we need the cricket sound.
Yeah, that was pretty tough. So yeah, it's tough. I'm happy, not happy Tuukka's hurt, but I'm happy Swayman's back, and I'm happy Olmark is playing good. Like Olmark almost had a crutch with Swayman because Swayman was essentially goalie one, like he was our starting goalie, and Olmark was a backup, so he was kind of had a crutch to not be the best. But when Tuukka started playing like crap, he had to step up his game, and I think he has, and I hope he keeps it on the same level because he's been playing really well, and I love to see that. And hopefully, I mean, I obviously want Tuukka to be back, and I want him to be the goalie that I remember him as, but I also am like at some point, when's this just detrimental to the team to let him give up 5 goals a game? Like when are we gonna draw the line and be like, okay, we can't do this anymore? I know he's hurt. Maybe he's not even hurt. maybe they're just like maybe we could give him a few more days to rest. I think he should go back. I think he should go to the AHL. I think they rushed him in. They wanted him to play. He said he was ready. Of course, every single like in hockey culture too. You ask a player, "Are you ready? Or do you want more time?" They're not gonna be like, "Actually, my leg still kind of hurts. I think I want to. I think I want to take another week off." Like, no. Obviously, a hockey player is gonna say they're good to go, even when they're not. Most players play through injuries for a season before they, get surgery. So I don't know. I think Tuukka might be I don't think he's done, but I don't this is probably most definitely his last season, and I don't know how he's going to be playing. I think he might even be our backup. I don't know if he's going to be our starting goalie unless he somehow gets this injury. Unless it's just like a pulled muscle because he's been so rusty, like, and he just needs to, I was gonna say rub it out, but that doesn't sound right. But he just needs to rub it out and throw some
Wait it
dirt on it.
out.
Yeah, and
He just
he'll
needs
be
a massage.
yeah, and he'll be fine. So
Yeah,
we'll
I
see.
mean, I would have rather, as much as I wanted him back, I would have rather that he just retired. Like, go out on, have your surgery, like, just be done with it. Like, I get the whole, we want to make another run with Bergeron and Marchand, and but you can't force those things because, like you said, then it's detrimental to the team. And then people blame him for that too. They blame him if he doesn't play through an injury, and they blame him if he plays through an injury. So the guy never knows. He can never win. Like, what do you want him to do? I don't get it. He is such a team player because even if he's injured, which I know he probably shouldn't be, he wants to play. He wants to put his body on the line. He doesn't want to be a baby. He wants to get out there and do his thing and show up because he's such a perfectionist and he takes pride in his work and his goaltending. So it's frustrating because I don't want him to go out this way. I want it to be, even though they lost in the playoffs last year, like if that was it, then great. He did all he could. He got injured, not his fault. He had surgery and you retire. But I get that he felt like he had more in the tank, and hopefully, like you said, it's not going to be detrimental to the team because it's frustrating and I want to see him succeed. So
How long of a conditioning stint did he have in Providence?
0.
he didn't play one game in Providence.
That's kind of weird.
He
They,
just
like I said, they were so excited to get him back, and it was just like such a cool story that he's back. He was signed on as a e-bug for like a day, and then
Right.
he was in practice, like just stopping shots in practice. But the thing is, everyone said he looked good too. I mean, I guess they're not gonna say, yeah, he looked like shit on the ice, but like
Yeah.
people like he looked good in the warm ups and like practice and like the like mini games that they were playing. And then he went to Providence. He was in Providence, and then he never played a game, and he just went straight up. So I don't know.
he was
Yeah.
supposed to start against the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, but they had a COVID outbreak and he never ended up playing.
Yeah,
So he was
that's what
supposed to
happened.
play one game, but they canceled or postponed or whatever they did with the game. And then next thing you know, he's back in the NHL. And yeah, so he looked amazing in practice. I was watching all the videos of him, and he was stopping every shot. And Pasta himself said he makes me feel like shit in practice. He said that verbatim. He was like, "We're so happy Tuukka's back, but I'm not happy about having him in practice." He's like, he stops every shot and makes me feel like shit. So like even Pasta was saying he couldn't score on Tuukka, and then Tuukka gets in the game and everyone's scoring on him. So I
Right.
don't I really think I'm not making excuses for him. I genuinely think his injury is acting up, and I think he rushed himself back. And practice is different than a game. It's even different than an AHL game. You got to get that experience. You got to get warmed up. You got to get those shots. You got to get those full 60 minutes. So, not really his fault. It's just unfortunate how it's all panning out.
Yeah.
My guess.
Good. Sorry.
My guess would be that he ends up signing with another team next year. I don't think he's got.
Stop.
I don't think he's done.
Stop.
If I'm honest, I don't think he wants to leave it off like that. I mean, because the 4 games that he played this year, he gave up like 4.5 goals, and he had an .844 save percentage. I don't know if that's the way that he wants to end.
I genuinely think he will not sign. Like, I really think he's that intense of a Bruin lover where he won't. Like, he grew up in the system too. Like, it's not like we say Zdeno Chara should have retired, a Bruin, or he should, but he played for what, 2 teams before. Like,
he played for the Senators and Islanders. He started with the Islanders, and now he's back with the Islanders.
Yeah, so technically,
that's where he started.
Yeah, technically he's back where he started. So, but Tuukka Rask was literally kid from Providence, like backup Providence, starting in Providence, throwing milk crates in Providence. Then Tim Thomas is backup. Then 7 years as our starter. So I can't see him doing that, but also I don't want to see him doing that, and I don't think he will.
Well, it's like you said, though.
You
the mentality of hockey players is if they're thinking that they're still able to play, they're going to find a place to play. And if the Bruins don't want to sign him, then he'll go wherever else he can, I would imagine.
Maybe he'll go to Finland.
That would be my worst
I don't know
nightmare.
if he'll ever put on another NHL jersey though.
It'd be interesting to see.
I think that's a fair.
I'd rather him do what Krejci did and just go home. But I don't think he wants to go home though, because his family is in Boston. He expressed his love for Boston. He's like, this is my home. This is my city. My kids are here. They go to school here. I will play in Boston for, what did he say, $200,000 in a case of Bud Light, which I feel like he said that for a reason. He's like, I will stay here even if the money's not there. I don't care about the money. So that's like a big statement for me.
So here's a fun thing to think about. If he ends up signing for another team in the NHL, and if he wants to stay on the East Coast so he's close to his family, where would be your like best case scenario? Where would you want to see him sign if it's obviously not the Bruins? And if he did sign on the East Coast somewhere, where would you want it to be?
Maybe like the Panthers. Like I wouldn't.
East Coast.
Yeah, I thought you meant like any East team.
No, I'm thinking like Metro East.
Like Northeast.
Yeah, within like 150 miles, since there's like 25 teams in that range.
Okay, well now that you specified, definitely not the Capitals. Can't stand them.
Bridgeport Sound Tigers.
All right.
Definitely not the Islanders. Can't stand them. Sabres. That won't hurt my feelings.
That'll hurt his feelings. He'll kill himself.
Yeah. Well, that's.
He'll realize what he did wrong.
If he wants to keep playing, that's what you get. So.
They've gone through like 7 goalies this season. It's insane.
I mean, the Rangers don't need a goalie. The Islanders really don't. Nobody's really in the market for a goalie. He would totally go to the Sabres.
The Sabres are, I would say, the Capitals.
It's a retirement though, so he's just gonna retire.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it's like Rob Gronkowski, who when he was going to the Lions and then they're like, he's like, oh no, I'm retired, and then he unretires and he stays on the Patriots.
Yeah, I still hate that. What a weasel.
And then he goes to the Bucks and wins a Super Bowl with Brady.
Yeah, that was before that even.
Yeah, I know, but it's just
Tom
funny.
Brady who retired for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam Schefter.
Yeah, even though that's not NHL, sorry, but it's relevant.
So I'm also gonna turn the conversation back to Alex because I want to hear his breakdown of the Moritz Seider and Sidney Crosby incident. I know he's just dying to talk about this. Look at him, he's about to explode.
I love my German boy.
I was just gonna say he's so proud of his German boy. And there was a meme and it was like, who would I have to pull it up because it's worth bringing up because it was hilarious. But there was a meme about it, them getting into it, and it said, hold on, I'm pulling up here. Please hold. Stand by. It said who would win? A 3-time Stanley Cup champion, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time Hart Trophy winner, undisputed generational talent, and potential top 5 all-time NHLer with 17 years of experience, or one angry German boy.
Well,
we know the answer to that.
Definitely
We know what one angry German boy could do. So I'm sure.
But
All right. Okay. Relax.
Cam.
Sorry. Well, actually, wasn't he not? Never mind. We're not going to talk about that.
I know.
We're not talking about that. So Moritz Seider.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
I actually do want you to talk about what happened though, because I don't know like the full story. Like Crosby was just like messing with him or something. And he got sick of it.
Yeah, so the entire game, Moritz Seider, because he's the number one defenseman on the Red Wings, and it's not even close, he gets the top matchups against the tougher teams and stuff, so he matches up against the Crosbys and the McDavids and the Matthews. So he gets to see a lot of minutes against these guys. And the biggest thing is, like, he doesn't back down from these people. Like, he doesn't care that they're, like, these perennial all-stars, like the number one players in the league. He doesn't care. He defends them all the same way, and he puts them in their place. There's a reason that on this team, he's still like a positive plus minus, which is just insane to think about because the Red Wings suck, especially defensively. He's been carrying around the dead body of Danny DeKeyser all season and like has been doing well somehow. But against Crosby, like he got the matchup against Crosby, so the entire game, you know, he was giving him shots and Crosby was giving him shots, and it was all pretty much as you would expect it to be. And then towards the middle part of the game, Sidney Crosby cross-checked Michael Rasmussen in the chest when the Red Wings were on the penalty kill, because Michael Rasmussen took it deep into the Penguins' end and was kind of like hovering around the net, and Casey DeSmith had to cover the puck, and Michael Rasmussen was right there, and Crosby gave Rasmussen a cross-check, and I think Seider kind of took Crosby's number on that one and remembered it. And Crosby was doing kind of the same around the Red Wings net later in the game, and kind of gave Moritz Seider a little bit of a face wash there for a bit, and Moritz decided that he did not like that, so he started punching Sidney Crosby, and Brian Rust came over and tried to stop Moritz, who didn't even look at him, and one hand stiff-handed him into the ice and kept punching Sidney Crosby. The time-old tradition of Red Wings defensemen punching Sidney Crosby. So it was very fun to see Crosby cower behind the referees and plead his case, and then they both ended up getting penalties for it that were offsetting going into overtime, because that was towards the end of the game. And then they ended up matching up against each other in overtime as well. Crosby had a breakaway at one point that Seider back-checked on and stopped the goal from happening from like 80 feet away. He back-checked on it. So really, really, really fun game to watch those two
80 feet
go
away,
at it
that's
together.
a pretty long reach he's got.
Yeah. It was impressive. Yeah, he's a big boy. We know how big he is.
Yeah. That's awesome. He's officially a Red Wing now. When you're a defenseman and you punch Sidney Crosby in the face, you officially become a Red Wing. As if he's not already been an official Red Wing. But
Jimmy Howard is sitting somewhere in his house watching that game, and he's just
smiling,
crying tears of joy.
Yeah.
Legend. Yeah, so thank you, Moritz Seider, for your service, because even star players need to know that they're not allowed to be jerks just because they're stars. So
Yep.
it's good to know that Seider is not afraid of him. You need one of those, like, have you seen the Nicki Minaj? It's an American flag, but it's Nicki Minaj saluting. You need one with like Seider on it, even though he's not American. You just need like an American flag with him on it.
I'll make that happen.
Oh, I know you will. It's going to be behind you for your backdrop next time.
We'll make it happen.
So we saved the best for last. Guys, Trevor Zegras has done it again.
He did the thing.
He pulled off the Michigan.
Yeah.
I was afraid Tortorella was going to bust out and drop kick me there.
Back for the game. Bah.
And Alex likes to call it like a TikTok goal.
He's got the cool points. He's leading in cool points.
He went on the center ice and did a little. Didn't even notice. He Jackson Mahomes did.
He did.
At least it wasn't on the memorial number of the opponent's team.
Yeah, he's very popular with the my dad's got more money than your dad crowd.
Yeah.
The Canadians have had it rough lately. Evander Kane scored against them, and then Zegras pulled the Michigan off. So people were saying, like the fun crushers like Tortorella, they're like, it doesn't count. Like Zegras pulled off 2 crazy goals against AHL teams. It doesn't count. I'm like, it does count because that's incredible. I don't care what team it was. Like, if you can pull that off in the NHL, regardless, like, chef's kiss.
Yeah, pulling that off in a game is very impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
It is.
It's so much fun to watch, and I guarantee you that was the most watched highlight since his crazy alley-oop assist. I guarantee you, but between Connor McDavid's goals, his crazy speed and the crazy goals that he scores, I guarantee you Zegras' goals are the most watched for the entire year. Like
it is nice to see someone else get the spotlight.
Because everyone wants to see that. You want to see that. You want to see those incredible goals, and it is great for the game, and it's growing the game. And I hope he does it again. Not that often to where we become numb to it, but like players try to pull that off all the time, and it doesn't work. But Zegras pulls it off. So if it's so easy, let's see someone else do it against the Canadians. Let's see someone else do it against the Sabres. He's just, he's so much fun to watch. And I know Alex doesn't want to admit it, but I think he's in the lead for the Calder as of right now. I think the NHL posted who's in the lead technically right now. It's just an estimate, but Zegras was on top. So
yeah, that was because the NHL.com writers who don't actually get a vote on the Calder. Again, it's the TikTok crowd that loves him. I think the Calder, in terms of the pure, like, who's the best rookie, I don't think it's like close at all, and I think it's Moritz Seider. You take Moritz Seider off this Red Wings team, they are literally in last place, and it's not close. You take Trevor Zegras off that team, and they're probably still in roughly the same spot.
Yeah,
I think the impact of the player, it's Moritz Seider, and it's not close. But I like Trevor Zegras, and I like the impact that he's having on the marketing of the NHL, and I think that this is finally, the NHL is doing a good job of marketing a player well. What I don't like is just like, oh my god, it's 24/7. It's almost too much. They went from like never showing Connor McDavid doing fun stuff and like being absolutely unreal to now Trevor Zegras is the only person that plays in the NHL apparently. So that's the part that I don't like.
Well,
they got to figure it out, a balance.
They do.
Well, yeah, they definitely should give equal attention to all the super cool things that happen, but I feel like Zegras has paved the way. Like, I really feel like he is the guy that's coming in and changing the game. Not saying he's a better player than some people or that he's the best player in the league, but with what he's done so far, people want to see him and they want updates on him, and especially since he did something not once but twice that was like mind-boggling. People want to see more from him, and everyone wants to watch him and see what comes next. So I think he is a big trailblazer for the league, and I think it's amazing. Like he should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame one day, depending how the rest of his career goes. I'm sure they would love to put those goals in there because it's just fun to watch, and it's exciting, and it's new, and he's young, and he's funny. Like, it's not even just like Connor McDavid's a great hockey player, but he has no personality, whereas Zegras is like the biggest dude bro ever. Like, remember when he walked in like with baby Yoda and like a baby carrier? Like, he like just has so much personality, and the Ducks, like his reaction after he had that Michigan like assist, his reaction where he like went like this, and the Ducks are like marketing the shit out of that. They have shirts with his face like this, and it says "dude" on it. So like, that's awesome. Like, it makes the NHL way cooler than it already was.
It's very good marketing.
Every small high school hockey town has a player exactly like Trevor Zegras. And just tries ridiculous things.
Young hockey players are trying to emulate him now and do what he did and pull off that assist or pull off. I mean, everyone's been trying to pull off the Michigan the past couple of years, but everyone was trying to. There were videos of high school hockey teams and beer league teams and college teams trying to pull off the Zegras assist. So that has a huge impact on the hockey world.
I won't be surprised if in like 10, 15 years we see players coming up into the league that, they do the interviewers, who's the player that like inspires your game. 10 years ago that was Pavel Datsyuk. Everybody said Pavel Datsyuk, Pavel Datsyuk. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing that be Trevor Zegras. Whether or not he ends up being a guy who can put up like 80 points a season or whatever, or if he only puts up like 50. Either way, the stuff that he does and the confidence that he shows is good for the game.
Yeah, definitely. So I hope he continues to have that success and put up those points because it's great to see him evolve, and he definitely deserves it for being just such a cool guy. He's a swell guy. So we're gonna move on to our segment. So I do have actually a lot of history went on today. I don't know what it is about January 30th back in the day, but there's actually a lot that went on. Back on January 30th, 1990, Wayne Gretzky became the first player to score at least 100 points in 11 straight seasons when he had an assist in the Los Angeles Kings 5-2 win over the New Jersey Devils. Defenseman Larry Robinson chipped in with a goal and an assist to tie Bobby Orr for second place on the all-time points list among defensemen with 915 points. Also on January 30th, 1990, Mario Lemieux picked up assists on all three goals of Tony Tanti's hat trick during the Pittsburgh Penguins' 6-3 loss to the Philadelphia Flyers. This extended his point streak to 40 straight games, the second longest in NHL history, only behind Gretzky's 51 game point streak during the 83 and 84 season. Phil Housley scored the first ever shorthanded goal while the team was 2 men short in Buffalo Sabres history. The extremely rare goal came in a 5-2 win against the Quebec Nordiques, so the Arizona Coyotes. Sorry, I had to. I'm like Cameron, right? Like a Cameron's like, no.
Stop taking my personality, okay?
You can tell we're related. We're literally siblings. And finally, rookie goaltender Curtis Joseph recorded his first NHL victory as the St. Louis Blues picked up a 2-1 road win at the New York Islanders, and Brett Hull led the offense with a goal and an assist. So that is everything that happened on this day, January 30th, 1990, and we will move on to Cam.
Yeah, so speaking of... So, betting... That was good.
Speaking of nothing. Nothing related.
I was not prepared for that. Anyway, don't pay attention to my prediction 2 weeks ago of what happened. We're just going to gloss over that. But pay attention to this prediction. The Oilers play the Senators tomorrow or today or whenever you're listening to this. They play Monday, the 31st. 30 days have September, April, June, and November. Okay, yeah, the 31st of January. They play, and the Senators suck, and the Oilers also kind of suck, but the Oilers know how to score. So what's gonna happen is the Oilers are absolutely gonna smoke the Senators, and the under over is gonna go over. Essentially, it's kind of crazy that it's 6.5 the under over, which is like not really seen in the NHL. Like it's usually a 6 or a 5.5 or a 5. A 6.5, like Vegas is like they know that this is going to go over, so they're trying to dissuade people. I don't know if it's going to hit over 6.5. That is a lot. So what I would do is go into the little prop bets, do a little teaser, and go under over 5.5. Which is minus 200, which is you bet 20 to win 10, which is kind of scary, but it's almost a lock that they're going to score, 6 goals, like between the two of them. Like it's probably going to be a 5-1 win in the Oilers, and that's going to be my prediction for this game is a 5-1 Oilers win. So the Senators and Oilers game, pound the over. You could go 6.5 if you want. But I recommend 5.5 going over on that. And that's it.
Speaking of the Ottawa Senators. One thing to keep in note about that is Drake Batherson being out, and he was one of the driving forces for a lot of their offense. And I just saw that Aaron Dell cleared waivers for Buffalo, and we all know that Aaron Dell decided to be a little scummy and hit Drake Batherson, leading to Batherson breaking his ankles. Literally, not just like, turning him inside out, actually broke his ankles and is out for the foreseeable future. But Aaron Dell is now cleared waivers. In terms of other goalies who are bad, Thomas Greiss still continues to be very bad. He hasn't played in a while, so that doesn't help the fact that he's still very, very bad at goaltending this year. Philip Grubauer is still at the bottom of the league, and I feel bad for Seattle because the expectation, Vegas versus Seattle, Vegas ended up with Marc-Andre Fleury, who was even then like absolutely stellar, and they get Philip Grubauer. Another goalie who's down there towards the bottom that's kind of interesting actually is Anton Khudobin, who had a string of really, really good years there for a while. I mean, he played for the Bruins for a bit, right? Like he killed it for the Bruins. He was a really good backup. Overall, though, he's been having a pretty tough season. Goalies who are playing well, though, obviously Igor Shesterkin is still on top. Freddie Anderson, UC Saros. You want to talk about betting odds. You want to throw some money on somebody who has pretty good odds, but is maybe a pretty decent bet. UC Saros. Throw some money on him for Vezina.
Damn, everyone's just taking my shticks today, aren't they? Segways and now betting.
Well, here's the thing. Adam Fox is injured, and that's great defense in front of Igor Shesterkin. If they end up replacing him with somebody who's obviously not the same caliber, he's going to get shelled a little bit more. He might be under a little bit more pressure. Maybe his expected goals saved drops. I don't know. Could be interesting to see. And if UC Saros keeps up his current pace, he's a good one to throw some money on because it's pretty long odds from what I've seen recently. It was like plus 2,000 or something like that for Vezina.
I just got my refund check too.
There you go. If you're filing your taxes, obviously you spend it gambling. That's yeah. I've heard that's a really responsible thing to do. Yeah. Don't listen to any of us.
No, please.
In terms of teams scoring, the Colorado Avalanche are still doing Colorado Avalanche things. But interesting enough, the Central in general has some teams representing pretty high. With Minnesota, obviously having Kirill Kaprizov is helpful with that. St. Louis, though, is third in terms of like team scoring, and which is kind of crazy to think about because even after they won the Stanley Cup a couple years ago, people started to think that they would tail off. Like they didn't have the staying power. Their cap situation was weird. They didn't have, we didn't expect Jordan Binnington to hang on the way that he has, and he's still been pretty mediocre overall, but he's been doing enough to hold them into games. Florida's obviously performing exceptionally well. Teams that are playing well defensively, you've got pretty much the same teams that have been there all year with New York, who has unreal defense, Carolina, who has unreal defense. It'll be interesting. The Metro is going to be really weird. We've got like 3 teams tied at the top of the Metro or pretty close within a couple points. The way that shakes out will be pretty much setting up, I honestly think, who's going to represent the East in the Stanley Cup. Whoever ends up on top there, I think, is going to be who we end up seeing in the Stanley Cup this year. So wow. That's all I got.
Thank you, Cam and Alex. Appreciate it as always. That is all we have for you guys today. And we will talk to you next time on the BruWings and Things podcast.
See ya.
Bye-bye.